Hello there and welcome once again to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. And today I welcome in a dear old friend of mine. Alsie Hyden is going to join us.
Yes, we wanted Alsie to come on and kind of give a little different kind of a show. And he has promised me he will tell all the stories he knows about Mick Cornett as a golfer. And we may have to edit some of it, I don't know. But he's been a golf pro for many, many years. He's a member of the Oklahoma Golf Hall of Fame, and we're really excited to hear from him. He's a fine gentleman that has a lot of good things to offer. Retiring at Lake Hefner, where he has been the head pro since the 1960s. We'll hear more from Alsie when we get back.
Right now, 6 feet can feel like a long ways away. But from 6 feet, we can still smile at each other. From our doorways and our stairways, from opposite sides of the street and opposite sides of the country. Through fear and frustrations, we can remind each other that we are still here for each other. Because we can still smile at each other. And we're not going anywhere.
I am a raw food culinary chef, and my co-founder and I became super passionate about just nourishment and simple, fresh, healthy ingredients. My name's Haley Nutt. I am the founder of Tribal Cold Pressed Juice, and I am Chickasaw. We started pressing our juices, just the raw organic produce. We hand bottle, hand fill, hand label. The name Tribal came from my Chickasaw roots. It really is focused around the idea of community. I definitely feel honored and humbled to be a modern day Chickasaw in this community and really taking my roots and my heritage and using it as honestly fuel and motivation because I want to carry it on. I want to carry on the legacy of building things up, of having resilience. Tribal is growing and expanding, and we want to continue to grow it. And if doors open, we will walk through them.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
It's a genuine pleasure to meet and be able to introduce Alsie Hyden. Alsie is a golf pro that has just recently retired from Lake Hefner Golf Course. He started out his golf pro career in 1961 after graduating from Oklahoma State University and after going to the military for a while. He started first as an assistant golf pro at the La Fortune Park, then moved to Bartlesville for his first head pro job, then came to Oklahoma City and served as a pro at Trosper Park and later for 20 some odd years at Hefner Golf Course. Alsie has done something unique in our way of thinking in bringing women into the game of golf more than they have been included in the past. He did that by using an idea he got from somebody else to start free golf clinics for women. And he also has brought women into the game of golf by making sure that he always, where he could, hired assistant pros from the feminine gender. They didn't all have to be males. Alsie, it's sure good to see you. Glad you're here, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You spent almost your entire life in golf now, 60 years nearly at Lake Hefner alone. How'd you get started? Do you remember when you first started playing golf? How old were you, and where were you, and what were you thinking?
Yes. Well, first of all, we lived in a community outside of West Tulsa. My dad was a principal of the school. My mother was my second grade teacher and everything, and we moved into town, or close to town, when I was in the 6th grade. And I had a neighbor who played golf on Saturday mornings, and he'd get in the backyard and hit a few wedges in his backyard. And he saw me being interested in that, and he invited me to go to the course and walk when they played, and walk when they played. And so that was my first introduction to golf, because I came home that day and called 3 of my friends who had never played golf. And I said, tomorrow we're going to play golf. And we're riding our bicycles 3 miles to play golf at Highland. And so had to wrap on a couple of windows to get them out, because this was summertime, and I had a morning paper route in the evening, so I fit the golf in between. But they had to be willing to go with me in the morning, and we got those papers out early in the morning. So that was the way I got started in golf, and I fell in love with it the first time.
And then you go to OSU, and you end up playing basketball for Hank Iba and golf for Labron Harris. That's not too many people played for both of those gentlemen.
That's right. Well, I was on the squad as a freshman, and I was a walk-on. Fortunate, got a little help too from Hank, because he didn't have a freshman coach then. He was coaching the freshmen.
Talking about Henry Iba?
Yes, Henry. Yeah. And so he knew I didn't have any money too, so he gave me a scholarship. And so a lot of things were going well. I loved the game, but it wasn't going to work playing both golf and basketball. So that's when I went all golf.
Mm-hmm. And then throughout the 50s, you were doing other things, and then in '61, you turned pro.
That's right. That's right. And did not have much chance to play golf there for a couple of years, because I was overseas. I was in Ethiopia teaching for OSU, and I was fortunate in that the principal representative for OSU over there on the program was a golfer from Stillwater. So he found a reason to have me in the capital city about 3 or 4 times while I was over there to play. I'll tell you about that course sometime.
Well, congratulations. And I noted that it was a significantly belated congratulations on your induction in the Oklahoma Golf Hall of Fame. That happened in 2008, I believe, and we're only just a few years slow in getting around to that, but that's a wonderful honor. Congratulations.
Very nice honor. I do appreciate it.
And I understand you were never quite sure why you got it.
Well, yeah, that's it. But they felt like my involvement with golf and what I've accomplished as an instructor was behind it, and I think they kind of felt like I was opening the door to lady players. And so, and I did a few things to do that. So I think it's a combination there.
You know, we talk a lot about how things have changed, but a lot of things about golf have stayed the same, haven't they? I mean, you know, you look at the other sports, baseball, football, basketball, and you might recognize the sport if you went back 60 years and looked at it, but there's no question the athleticism in those games has changed the way that they're played. But, you know, golf's pretty similar. And it's still very much one person against the world, against themselves.
Yes, you're exactly right. You look at the swings of the guys that came along early, and the movements they made, and releasing the club in their hands to try to gain speed, and then clamping down on the club again to pick up speed as they come into the hitting area. But you're right, everything is pretty similar, and it makes you wonder what different directions it might have taken, and that's pretty interesting. Let's say they were wanting to hit the ball as far as they do now, then, which is impossible. I mean, with the equipment they had and everything. So there are other things that have changed the game: the equipment, the swing, the physics of what's going on there.
You were a graduate of Oklahoma State University and involved in Oklahoma State University golf program. What accounts for the spectacular golf record that Oklahoma State University has had as a university in national championships and big name players, and you just name it?
Yeah. Well, in the beginning when I was there, was somewhat not the real beginning. The Coach Labron Harris, was a good recruiter, and it wasn't the battle of recruiting like it is nowadays. But he actually played in events himself. He recruited young men that he had played against in tournaments. So he was very on top of that. So I think that gave them a head start. And then he was with the team almost all the time when they were playing practice rounds or playing in tournaments. He was right there. So I have to give him a lot of credit. And then, of course, the guys that have taken over since then have done a wonderful job of recruiting. And they're still doing that.
Yeah, Mike Holder, I guess.
Yes, Mike.
Just recently retired.
Yes, he has. And he had done a good job coaching that team. I thought he might be too young at the time he took it. He was pretty young, but he got in there running.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City gets a lot of credit for having really good public golf, but you were back there in the beginning when they were just kind of setting up the system and the public courses, how they be funded, the idea of bringing in Class A professionals to actually run the clubs, and I think that's a lot of that is attributed to the success of the program and the quality of the play at those courses.
I agree with you. I think there wasn't anything getting in the way of decisions that would hurt the game. Okay, and I've seen that around the country a few times for the PGA of America. There'll be a course that'll be having some problems, and so they'll send a couple of us in there to talk with them and see if we can give them some help. And that's the biggest difference, is that they, first of all, have to have an interested group of people who want to have good golf courses and see the value of the recreational facility in their city. And if it costs them something, it's well worth it. The problem there comes if it costs them something, they've been kind of trained to it. Well, we can't do this if it's going to cost us money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's hard to overcome, but you have to get to that point because it is a great recreation.
About how many people play the public courses in Oklahoma City and in Tulsa? In a year, 30 rounds.
Well, let's just take our place, for example. We're only running about 60 some odd thousand right now. But I'm going to give you a shocking number here. Mm-hmm. When we opened the rework on the North Course, the following year, we did 128,000 rounds.
Wow.
So we did about double what's going on now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually do about 80. The average for all the courses is in the high 60s.
We're going to take a break. We're visiting with Alsie Hyden, who is retiring after 60 years in professional golf, most of that at Lake Hefner. We'll be right back.
One of the best kept secrets about the post 9/11 GI Bill benefit is that it can be used at a trade school or a technical school, and it doesn't have to be used at a university or college. These are benefits that the veterans have earned through their service, and they should take advantage of it.
Veterans really need to understand that there are many resources offered by the Oklahoma Department of Veteran Affairs. They are there to help you find the right school for you, the school that will help you and your family make great steps into your future.
OU Law has a history and heritage that are unparalleled. At the University of Oklahoma College of Law, we empower our students to pursue the career of their dreams. We have the highest U.S. News ranking ever achieved by an Oklahoma law school. We are the first law school in the country to launch a college-wide digital initiative. And this year, our competition teams rank #2 in the nation. OU Law, generations of excellence, limitless possibilities.
We're back on The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers and our guest, Alsie Hyden.
Alsie, we mentioned in the early part of the show that you were instrumental in trying to create free clinics for women golfers at a time before a lot of people were doing that. More people doing it now, I guess, than they were then. What got you interested in doing that, and how did the idea of a free clinic come about to you?
At the time, I was working as an assistant at LaFortune Park in Tulsa, and had not been there very long. And Mr. LaFortune told me, he said, I built the golf course really with his money. It was a county deal, but he also was the head of the county board. But so he could do what he wanted to do. But he said, I want our golfers to have country club conditions, and I want them to have the opportunity to play. And he's the one that said, I want you to have free clinics each spring for the ladies. So we started, that's the first time I did it. And I had another assistant professional there and myself, and we conducted that. And we did it 5 straight days during the week. And we had them about a half a day. So we had they had good exposure.
Yeah.
Well, I carried that when I went to Bartlesville and opened the city course up there. I carried that farther forward. And I had 126 ladies show up. Now, I knew how to handle and organize groups. I had some training in college on that regard. But my average attendance for the week was 125 out of 126.
Wow.
About half of those belonged to a very nice club in town called Hillcrest. But they saw the opportunity to get lessons. And so of the other half, about a quarter of them played some golf, and they played at another little club that was in town. And then the others, almost 1/4 of the number had never been around it.
It's brand new.
Brand spanking new.
And go ahead, you haven't finished that thought?
Every single one of those ladies bought a Patty Berg starter set and took more lessons.
Yeah, really?
Yes.
Wow. Well, they must have enjoyed what they were exposed to.
I think they did.
In the 1980s, girls' high school golf began, and it wasn't long before Lake Hefner was the home course of the state championships, and that's been going on for decades. Again, shows your outreach into women's golf.
Yeah, they were having trouble recruiting, getting the girls to play so that schools could have teams, and they were having trouble recruiting teams to come play in a state tournament. So they even thought at times about not having the one tournament. So we took a different approach, and I had 2 ladies' organizations, one on Tuesday and one on Thursday. Tuesday the 9-hole group, Thursday the 18-hole group, but I asked their help. So we had the state tournament, and we put on the dog for them. We had scorekeepers and everything. I mean, we did a good job, and it started to grow. And I don't know if that was part of it or not, but it did start to grow, and we needed to do those extra things anyway. And so now, let's see, I don't know how many classes we have now. I'm trying to remember, but it's gone well. And, there were opportunities because a lot of the schools were wanting to start ladies golf and didn't have the clientele. So the colleges had scholarships available. Mm-hmm. So we had young ladies that hadn't played much at all that would get scholarships to go play. So their learning the game and their love of the game continued right on into school.
You can't be a golf pro in the state of Oklahoma and not have to deal with the weather. Think about drought and how that affects a golf course. Think about days of rain and how that affects a golf course. You have the wind, you have hail. This past winter, we had incredibly cold temperatures that froze the roots of a lot of turf on golf courses. So, I mean, you've had to deal with Oklahoma weather your entire career as a golf pro. That has to be a battle you probably think you're never going to win.
Well, that's the truth. You're at the mercy, but we know how to handle some things better, than we used to, and we can get it done. There's still a lot of expense involved when you're putting a place back together after it's been torn up by the weather, so to speak. But the last 2 years have been the worst that I've known since I've been in the business. Like I said, I've been in it a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So we just try to deal with it as best we can. And the course is starting to come around now. It's going to look better. We'll be sprigging some areas here before long that we can't wait for those areas to get covered, like we can most of them. And it's been recovering on its own a lot, really coming around. So anyway, yes, the superintendents of the courses in the state get quite an education in Oklahoma. And they look for answers, on how to treat and approach different things. Right now, they're all looking for the magical grass we can put on greens that can stand the heat and can stand the cold. So that's still going on. And I think one of these colleges or universities is going to come up with it. They're working on it. But that'll help a lot if we can do that.
Well, you've brought up a different subject than we've been talking about, and I wanted to ask you about it. I just hear from folks in Stillwater that Karsten Creek is quite a lovely course, particularly for a collegiately owned course. Can you comment about that?
Yes, it's a beautiful golf course, tough golf course that can be made even tougher with the pin settings that they built. And Mike Holder was the gun behind all that and his big backer. And Mike needed, I was involved with discussions with Mike before anything happened, but Mike needed a better golf course. And we were going to lose him. Not many people know that. We were going to lose him to one or two of the colleges in Florida that were possibilities, because he would have he'd have a say-so on the golf course, running that. So, and I said, well, what are you doing now? He said, we have to buy full memberships for all our team. And he said, there's some time when we can't do the things we need to do. I said, you've never heard this story. But anyway, I said, okay, why don't we buy it, Mike? He said, what do you mean? I said, I know it only has 25 owners. One of them is laboring. One of them is Don Seekers. One of them are classmates that play golf on the team, because they designed the course and worked on the course. And then you've got all these others.
Talk about Stillwater Country Club.
Stillwater Country Club, yes. And he said, well, what do we need to do? I said, well, first I'll go talk to a banker in Stillwater. And I did that. I came back and I told him, I said, we can give it a go, give it a try. And so in buying the 25 out, we got 2 less than the majority before, and still had other votes that may have been in, but the majority got killed because they said, hey, Hyden will come in here and make that a public course. I wasn't even going to be there, but it worked because the alumni jumped on it. They heard what was going on. They offered to build workout rooms and everything else. But anyway.
We're going to have to call that a show. Hey, really, congratulations on an incredible career, and thanks for sharing those memories with us today here on The Verdict.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
All right. Kent and I'll have a final word when we return.
It used to be okay in hospitals. It used to be okay in movie theaters. It was okay in classrooms, restaurants, and airplanes. But thanks to a greater understanding of the dangers, that's not okay anymore. So now that we know secondhand smoke causes lifelong health problems, why is it still okay to smoke with children in the car? Bottom line, it's not okay. Let's get serious about protecting kids. Join the fight at stopswithme.com.
The Vet Hero office at the University of Central Oklahoma, it is a one-stop shop for veterans when they're trying to get their education.
I call it my encore job. I get to take care of veterans. We help them transition. I was that guy that transitioned after 24 years, and in the end, GI Bill is a benefit that those soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine earned. It was the thing that made us the greatest country in the world coming out of World War II, and it will continue to do the same thing for this future generation of service members.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
You have children coming from a different lifestyle, different mindset. You have to open your arms and really do what you have to do to have that child become a part of your family. And if it's more patience, that's what you do. Kids got to know they can trust you. And that's what we've tried to do with these kids.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
We're back on The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers. We're wrapping up the show with longtime golf professional Alsie Hyden.
Yeah, what a fine gentleman. He is soft-spoken but very wise, obviously, and he's done world of good for every community in which he's been a golf pro, and I'm glad he's, sorry to see him retire, but I'm glad he's going to stick around.
And there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people he's mentored through the years and are better off for his work. So we wish him well in retirement, and Lake Hefner's going to have some pretty big shoes to fill when it comes up. We have some website information. You can get more information about the Oklahoma City Public Golf Courses and Alsie's course out at Lake Hefner by going to okcgolf.com. That's okcgolf.com. And we have a website. You can log on and tell us about a guest you'd like to see or a subject you'd like to see us discussed. Our website is theverdict.tv. That's going to do it for this show. For Kent Meyers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next time right here on The Verdict.